Hi guys, welcome back to nitahcrochets. Today it is the Rope Muse Bikini bottom. I've already provided a tutorial for the Rope Muse Bikini top, okay? And the written pattern for all of this is on my online shops. I've also worked tutorials for the Rope Muse corset top and a mesh skirt, so you should look out for those as well. Yeah, so let's work this bikini bottom, and for starters, this is what we need. I am working with this yarn. It's 100% acrylic. It is 50 grams, and I'm going to be doubling my strands. And then I am working with a 3.5 millimeter hook. You will need a pair of scissors and a yarn needle. Okay. So to start off, I am going to make a slip knot. I will chain 9, and I'm going to get into the third chain stitch from the hook, and into it I'm going to work a double crochet right there. So you work a double crochet, and then you will just work one double crochet into every stitch all the way until the end of the row. So you should have a total of 7 stitches. Okay, should be a total of 7 stitches. Remember that chain 2 doesn't act as a stitch, so you're just going to work your double crochets until you come to the end of the row. So there we are. This is the crotch area for the front. Okay, so there we go. Yarn over and work your double crochet into that last stitch. So that's what we have. That's how it looks like. That's our very first row. Now the second row we are going to chain 2, which doesn't act as a stitch, and then we shall turn our work, and we shall work one double crochet into every stitch all the way until the end of the row. So this is exactly what we are going to do for the next row as well, and the next row after that, so that we have a total of 4 rows of just normal double crochet into the next 7 stitches, and then chaining 2, turning your work, and repeating the very same thing until you have a total of 4 rows. And that's why I'm going to meet you guys then show you what to do. And right here we have our 4 rows complete. This is how my work looks like. So at this point I'm going to chain 2, turn my work. The chain 2 doesn't act as a double crochet, it's just our turning chains. So into this very first stitch right here, I am going to work 2 double crochets all in that very same stitch. So there we have our 2 double crochets, and then I'm going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch for the next 5 stitches. So that means I'm working 1 double crochet into every stitch until I have 1 stitch to end my row. Okay, because we had a total of 7 stitches, so we are working an increase into the very first stitch, and then working 1 double crochet into every stitch until we have 1 stitch left to end our row. So into the very last stitch right here, we are going to work 2 double crochets all in this very same stitch. So work your second double crochet into that very same stitch right there. So this is our very first row of the increase, and what we are working right now is the front part. Then we are going to chain 2, turn our work. The chain 2 doesn't act as a stitch, it is just our turning chains. Into the very first stitch we are going to work 3 double crochets all in this very same stitch. Okay, so this is our second row of the increase, and the increase is going to be a 2-step repeat. So this is our second step. So once we have worked all 3 double crochets into this very same stitch, we're going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way until we have 1 stitch left to end our row. So just work 1 double crochet into every stitch until you have this 1 stitch to end your row. So here we are. I have come to almost the end of my row. I have 1 stitch left. So into this last stitch I am going to work 3 double crochets all in that very same stitch. Now this creates an increase, and that means that we are getting or creating coverage for the front area of our bikini. Okay. So here we are. This is how it looks like, and I'm just going to be repeating these 2 steps. So let me just repeat this for you one more time so that you know what to do. Chain 2 turn your work. The chain 2 doesn't act as a stitch, it is just our turning chains. Into this very first stitch, you're going to work 2 double crochets all in the very same stitch, just like that. And then you will work 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way until you have 1 stitch to end your row. So just work 1 double crochet into every stitch until you have 1 stitch to end your row. And I'm going to meet you guys there, then show you what to do. All right, just work all the way until right there. So here we are. I have 1 stitch left to end my row, and into this very last stitch right there, I am going to work 2 double crochets. So how you start your row is exactly how you end it. When you start with 2 double crochets into the very first stitch, you have to end your row with 2 double crochets into the very last stitch. Now the next row, remember I told you it's a 2-step repeat. So the next row we are chaining 2, turning our work. The chain 2 doesn't act as a double crochet stitch, it is just our turning chains. So we work 3 double crochets all in the very same stitch. That's in the very first stitch. We work 3 double crochets. If you remember, this is what we did for our second row of the increase, and it's what we are doing exactly here as well. And then we are going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way until we have 1 stitch to end our row. So that means even for this row, if we started with 3 double crochets into the very first stitch, we are ending the row with 3 double crochets into the very last stitch. Okay. So yeah, it's that simple. You're just going to be repeating these steps. Okay. So when you get to the point where you have 1 stitch to end your row, like I said, if you started with 3 double crochets into the very first stitch, you're going to work 3 double crochets into the very last stitch, just like that. So that's how you end your row. Now what you're going to do for the rest of the rows that we need for the front area of our bikini, we are just going to keep repeating these 2 steps. You chain 2, turn your work, work 2 double crochets into the very first stitch, and then work 1 double crochet into every stitch until you have 1 stitch to end the row. Into the very last stitch, you work 2 double crochets all in that very same stitch. And then the next row will be chain 2, turn your work, work 3 double crochets into the very first stitch, work 1 double crochet into every stitch until you have 1 stitch to end the row. And then into that very last stitch, you work 3 double crochets all in the very same stitch. So you're just going to keep repeating these 2 steps until you have the coverage that we need for the front, you know, for the front of our bikini area. Okay. And I'm just going to get back to show you how many rows I worked. All right. And then get back to also show you how to work the back part of our bikini. Okay. So let me meet you guys there and then show you what to do. So for my front area, I have a total of 16 rows. So that means I worked an extra 8 rows after from the point where I left you guys. So altogether, it's a total of 16 rows. Okay. Now to work my back part of the bikini bottom, I am going to insert my hook into the very first stitch on the opposite side of my foundation chains that started the front part. Okay. And here into that very first stitch, what I will do is I will insert my hook into it, pull through a loop, and then I'm going to chain 2, which does not act as a double crochet, but rather it's just my turning chains. And I'm going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way until the end of the row. So I should have a total of 7 stitches once I come to the end of my row. So yeah, you work one double crochet into every stitch all the way until you come to the end of your row. And make sure that you have 7 stitches. So once at the end of your row, at this point I'm going to start increasing so that I get, I intend to have just good enough coverage. Good enough coverage for my back. So whatever your preference is, I just would love to have coverage because most people prefer that. So once you have come to the end of your row just like I have, you are going to chain 2 turn your work. Now into the very first stitch, you are going to work 3 double crochets all in this very same stitch. Okay, so I had already worked my 1 double crochet, so I'm going to get in there and work 2 other double crochets all in this very same stitch so that we have a total of 3 into the very first stitch. Then I'm going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch until I have 1 stitch to end my row. Remember, I mentioned that how you start your row is exactly how you end it. Okay, so just work 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way until you have 1 stitch to end your row. So that means into that 1 stitch, which is the last stitch, we are going to get in there, right there, and work 3 double crochets all in this very same stitch. So you work your 3 double crochets. Now this time we are going to be working a 3-step repeat. Okay, so this is what we have. The sun really was hitting my table and creating shadows, but at least I have made sure that what I am doing is still visible to you, and I hope this does not sabotage what we are doing already. So we chain 2 turn our work. The 2 chains don't act as a stitch, it is just our turning chains. Into the very first stitch we are going to work 2 double crochets all in that very same stitch, and then we are going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way until we have 1 stitch to end our row. So do this until you have 1 stitch right there. So that's why I'm going to meet you guys, then show you what to do. So here we are, I have 1 stitch to end my row, like you can see. Now into this last stitch I am going to work 2 double crochets into the very same stitch, and that's how I started my row. So I mentioned that for the back part it's going to be a 3-step repeat. So this is where you're going to now keep track of the 3 steps which you're going to repeat repeatedly until you have the coverage that you need for your back. First, I am going to chain 2 turn my work. The 2 chains don't act as a stitch, it is just my turning chains. Into the very first stitch I'm going to work 3 double crochets all in that very same stitch right there. And then I'm going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way until I have 1 stitch to end my row. Okay, so do this until you have 1 stitch to end your row right there. So here I am, I have 1 stitch left to end my row, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to work 3 double crochets all in that very same stitch, because that's how I started this row, and exactly how you start your row is how you end it. So this is our very first step. So keep track of it so that you know what to do after I leave you guys. Okay? So there we are. That's the end of our very first step. Now the next step is exactly what we have done on the previous step. Chain 2 turn your work. The 2 chains act as a double crochet stitch. Oh no, they don't act as a double crochet stitch, but rather our turning chains. Into the very first stitch you're going to work 3 double crochets all in that very same stitch. There you go. So you go in with your 3rd stitch, and then you're going to work 1 double crochet all the way one double crochet into every stitch until you have one stitch to end the row. So do that until you have one stitch to end the row right there. Okay, now once you have one stitch to end the row, you are going to yarn over, insert your hook into that very last stitch, and you're going to work 3 double crochets all in that very same stitch. Now this is our second step. Okay, so our third step is going to be chain 2, turn your work. The 2 chains don't act as a stitch, it is just our turning chains. So we work 2 double crochets into the very first stitch, and then work 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way until we have 1 stitch to end the row. So you work 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way until it is 1 stitch left to end your row right there. That's why I'm going to meet you, then show you how to end the row. So if you see, we work 3 double crochets when starting and ending the row right there. We worked 3, and then on the next step or the next row we worked 3 double crochets when starting the row, and then 3 double crochets into the last row. And then the third step we work 2 double crochets when starting, and then we are going to work 2 double crochets into the last stitch. So the repeat of these 3 steps is what is going to give us the coverage we are looking for. So you're going to repeat these 3 steps until you have the coverage that we are looking for. I'm just going to get back and tell you how many rows I worked for my behind part, and then we shall pick it up from there. So here we are. This is how my part looks like. If you look closely, I worked if you look closely, I worked, let me see, 1, 2, right there is where I started the increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I have a total of 20 rows for my back part. But if you see closely, I worked an increase until right here on the 16th row, and then the last 4 rows were worked without any increment. It was just 1 double crochet into every stitch. That's why it's kind of straight right here. So this is just to help me manage the elasticity that would be if I didn't work any row after the increment. Okay, so just work your rows from where I left you guys, and make sure you have a total of 16 rows at the back. Once you have 16 rows at the back, you will then work 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way until for the next 4 rows, so that you have a total of 20 rows. Now I have my straps or my ropes complete, and I'm just going to take you through on what to do to get these ropes made. Okay, and then we can come to the end of our tutorial. So let me take you through on how to make the ropes, then show you what to do with them. Okay, so we are going to get our yarn, and we are going to make a slip knot. To make the rope, I worked with the puff stitch. Yeah, so the thicker you want your rope to be, the more strands of yarn you work with and the more puffs you work. Okay, so first we are going to chain 4, and we get into the 3rd chain stitch from the hook. We yarn over, insert our hook into that stitch and pull through our yarn over, insert your hook into that very same stitch, pull through your yarn. So you do this 2 more times so that you have a total of 6 strands on your hook, then 7, yeah. Then yarn over, pull through all the 6 strands, and then have 2 left on your hook, then yarn over, pull through that 2. So once again, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the 4th chain stitch, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through a loop. You do that 4 times so that you have a total of 9 loops on your hook. Okay, then yarn over, pull through all 8 loops on your hook, so you have 2 loops left on your row. I was just confirming to see that I have 9 loops on my hook. So yarn over, pull through all the 8, so you have 2, and then yarn over, pull through that 2. So this is our very first row for the puff stitch, which makes the rope. Okay, let me just bring this a little closer so you guys can see what I am doing. So here we are going to chain 3 and turn our work. Yarn over. Now the gap in between the 2 puffs I have previously worked is exactly where I'm going to insert my hook and pull through a loop. Yarn over, insert your hook into that very same spot, pull through a loop. Do that 2 more times so that you have a total of 7 loops on your hook. Then yarn over, pull through 6, yarn over, pull through the 2. Okay, now to work your second puff, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that very same spot where you inserted for the previous puff, and pull through a loop, and do this 4 times so that you have a total of 9 loops on your hook. Then yarn over, pull through the 8, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops on your hook. That's how you work your second row of the puff stitch. So I'm just going to show you 2 more rows, and then I'll let you work the rest on your own. So we chain 3. The chain 3 acts as a stitch or part of the puff. Okay, that's why for the very first puff, we yarn over and insert our hook into the gap in between the previous puffs and pull through a loop. And we do this 3 times, not 4, because we have the chain 3 that is acting as part of the puff. Now for the second puff is where we yarn over and pull through a loop, and we repeat that 4 times so that we have a total of 8 loops on our hook. Okay, I hope now that is understood. So once you have 8 loops, you yarn over, pull through all 7, and then yarn over, pull through all 2. So you just repeat these 2 steps of chain 3, turn your work, yarn over, insert your hook into the gap in between the previous 2 puffs, pull through a loop, and repeat that 3 more times to have a total of 7 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all the 6 loops, yarn over, pull through the 2. Then yarn over, insert your hook into that very same spot and pull through a loop. Repeat that 4 times so that you have a total of 9 loops on your hook. Just like that. Then yarn over and pull through all 8. Then yarn over, pull through all 2 loops on your hook. Now, if you want a thicker rope, double your strands even more, okay? Or work more yarn overs and pull through a loop. Okay, so if we are working, if we are yarning over and pulling through a loop 4 times, that means you'll do that 6 times. You're going to get a thicker rope, but sometimes I don't advise too thick, like a rope that is too thick. But honestly, everything is up to you. I'm just giving you adjustments that may cover your kind of desire or something. But yes, this is how you work your rope. So you're just going to keep repeating this until you have something long enough. So once you have your ropes complete, you will make 2 ropes, one that is going to go to the back. It should be long enough because remember it has to tie to the sides. So it should be long enough to cross all the way across the edge of your bikini front. And the second one also to go across the edge of your bikini back. So you're going to fold your rope and make sure it is of similar length. Then get the center of the rope and place it at the center of the front so that we have just the same length on each sides for the rope ends. Okay, now remember when I was ending, after the end of my row, I was cutting my yarn from a good length so that I can use the yarn end to sew in my rope. Okay, so here I'm just going to show you how to sew your the front rope onto the front edge of the bikini bottom, sorry, so that you know what to do. So you'll get from the yarn end and put it through the eyelet of your yarn needle, and it is just so simple. There is no science or mathematics, honestly. Just make sure that you're hand sewing through the puffs so that they are really secure and attached onto the bikini bottom. Okay, so just be careful with that. You can go through some of the puffs or the center of the puffs, but just make sure that you are sewing this and making sure it is secure enough. Okay, So you do this all the way until the end of your the end of the edge of your front or bikini front. Okay, so I'll just put this on fast forward so that you guys can do what you have to do, and I'm going to get back just to show you what to do with the back. So just get yourself through it, just work, you know, all the way until the end. Then, like I said, you have to have 2 ropes. So you'll get your second rope and do the very same thing. Make sure the center of the rope is at the center of that back piece so that you have the same rope ends that, you know, are lying down each side. And then do the very same thing like you have done on the front. Just sew the rope across the edge of the back so that, you know, because these ropes are going to act as our strings as well. So yeah, that's how you crochet your Rope Muse Bikini bottom. Thank you so much guys for watching. The written patterns are available for these pieces. I love you so much. Let me see you all in my next tutorial. I know you will like the next one. Thank you. Goodbye.